Welcome to Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet, the podcast that uses music to inspire us in the struggle against climate change. Songs to warm your soul so you can help cool the world.
Welcome to Cool Tunes for a Hot Planet, the podcast that brings us music focused on the struggles for environmental and social justice and against climate change. I'm Warren Senders. I'm new to the podcast team, and I thank them for giving me the opportunity to host today. I'm a musician and climate activist based just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Today's episode is focused on immigration, one of the biggest consequences of climate upheaval. Refugee populations all over the world are increasing as climate disasters continue to mount. And the resulting movement of people from one place to another takes an age-old phenomenon and makes it happen with unprecedented rapidity and severity. The human cost of these migrations is staggering. But sometimes the thing that we need to do first is to reflect and figure out more about how we got where we are. And to do that, music is really helpful. So let's get right to it. Our first selection is Refugee from singer-songwriter Laura Barron. It's a very empathetic song that brings us into the world of the refugee with lines like, "How long has it been since we've been welcomed?" And it's got a beautiful Indian beat and Indian-inflected melody that makes it a pleasure to listen to. Here's Laura Barron singing Refugee.
We've been welcomed. I'm so glad you watched. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a very moving experience to write the song and be involved with the production with the wonderful videographer, Mira Malcolm. So once again, thank you for watching and listening. I'm Laura Barron.
Our next selection will be something a little different. It's a sort of music and video portrait of a remarkable musician and his remarkable idea. Willie Schwartz is an old friend, a singer-songwriter, composer, and all-round multi-instrumentalist. When I first met him, he was living in Chicago, and he's now living in Germany, in the city of Bremen. In both cities, he arranged and assembled the Immigrant Orchestra, in which musicians from literally dozens of different countries shared their own traditional music with one another, and in the process created something that affected everyone who heard it. Willie Schwartz and the Immigrant Orchestra.
We begin with an invocation, which is based on one single note. All the instruments, all the voices on the same plane. Like musical prayer. So then we have whatever kind of rhythmic sequence we could put together. We had tabla bowls and clog dancing, right? I was, as the conductor and leader, the sort of musical ombudsman.
People emigrate for all kinds of reasons. In the U.S. right now, the social pressures demonizing and degrading immigrants are intense. But it doesn't have to be like that. What if we imagined our multi-ethnic, multilingual society as an orchestra, making songs that brought us together instead of keeping us apart? This multinational immigrant orchestra isn't just a fantasy. It's actually happened on 2 continents, thanks to the imagination and leadership of Willie Schwartz, a Chicago native now living in Bremen, whose parents were refugees from war-torn Europe.
My father was born in 1908 in Milano, Italy. Though Jewish, he was subject to compulsory military service in Mussolini's army. After graduating from the Polytechnical University, he found a job designing bridges in far-off Iran. He worked together there with a German engineer named Joachim Leppmann, my mother's elder brother. My mother, Andrea, was born in 1913 in Berlin. And after Hitler came to power, her father sent her to Iran to join her brother. There she met my dad. Her family lost everything as the screws slowly tightened back in Germany. 2 of her brothers escaped to America, and 1 stayed in Germany and was eventually carted off to Auschwitz and murdered in 1942. My parents went back to Europe, got married in Italy, and had my sister Janina in 1939. They managed to leave Italy on the very last passenger ship to cross the Atlantic, arriving in New York in midwinter and traveling on to Chicago.
A newlywed couple with a baby girl, forced to flee to a faraway world. They were sad to leave, but they felt no shame. They lost their land, but they kept their name. A January storm whipped up the tide, the huge ship slipping from side to side. 12 long days on the open sea, and the night spent dreaming of a life that's free. Out on the ocean, great wide ocean, my father and my mother out on the ocean, leaving home.
My father took a job in the little town of Holland, Michigan, and the family tried to settle into American life. I was born the fifth child in 1949. Growing up, immigrant trauma was a part of my life. My parents had to learn English at the same time as my older sister, who rebelled by falling in love with hillbilly music. My three brothers became as American could be, fishing, hunting, baseball, football, hot rods, none of which were activities my mother and father could participate in. And both my parents imbued me with their traditions that they had brought over with them across the Atlantic. And it went forward from there. And then one day I walked into Woolworths and I see this LP, Songs and Sounds of Faraway Places. I was hooked and I wanted to hear everything I could get my ears on. After working in Chicago in many different contexts, in theater, in studio recordings, in the jingle industry, I came in contact with a lot of great musicians from all different corners of the world. And at the end of my stay in Chicago, after 11 or 12 years, I approached the Steppenwolf Theater and said, I want to put together an immigrant orchestra, the Chicago Immigrant Orchestra. They loved the idea, and I explained to them the concept, and they gave me the funding, and I put together the concert, 23 musicians from many, many different countries, and it was a huge success. A few years later, I was invited back to Chicago from Germany to conduct the Immigrant Orchestra once again. And we were joined this time by the 60-voice Chicago Children's Choir in front of something like 15,000 people at this brand new pavilion. Very thrilling. The following year, 2005, I decided to try and do the same back in Bremen, here where I live. And it wasn't that difficult to put together the Bremen Immigrant Orchestra.
Ich will feiern, als ob's kein Morgen gäbe. Du riechst fantastisch, bist mehr als knackfrisch. Du fühlst dich gut an, komm näher ran.
Les va a dar un chubascazo, vaya que baño, miren nomás. Y saque a un fidasen, ya comen vida, ya senti musicante con un
Ashilato fona halebaya, nona fele
What's so special about the immigrant orchestra? Well, for instance, a Chinese musician plays a Chilean piece. A Kurd plays an American piece that has its roots in the traditional music of Kashmir. In this way, the immigrant orchestra is a sort of model for a multicultural society. Our music takes the issue of mutual respect for granted.
This old world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. If you love your neighbor truly, love will come to you the more.
When I was coming up as a musician in Cambridge in the late 1970s, singer-songwriter Patty Larkin was very much a force on the scene. She's a terrific composer, a great lyricist, and someone with a very wide-ranging musical imagination. In The Fool's Song, Patty takes a 1913 poem by William Carlos Williams, in which the bird of truth is locked away in a cage, adds a few verses of her own, and puts the whole to a haunting melody. The truth can't be kept locked up forever, whether it's truths about climate, truths about racism, truths about corporate greed, or the plight of refugees. It will out. Here's Patty Larkin singing The Fool's Song.
Tried to put a bird in a cage. A fool that I am. But the bird was truth. Sing merrily truth. Truth in a fool I am. And when I had the bird in the cage, oh fool that I am, why it broke my pretty cage. Sing merrily truth, fool I am. I tried to put a bird in a cage. Oh, fool that I am. The bird was truth. Sing merrily truth. Truth in a cage. Fool I am. And when the bird had flown from the cage, oh, fool
Liberty by Alison Moore is a spoken word piece with old-timey banjo accompaniment. It's a magic realist tale in which our famous statue comes down off the pedestal and embarks on a road trip through the United States, only to wind up learning some hard lessons at the southern border.
She could topple at any moment. A plane straying off course, a bomb in someone's shoes. The golden door is bolted shut and we didn't even hear it close. They opened part of her. You can look, but you can't come in. Once upon a time, there was a country, there was a we, there was a people made of us. But now the woman in the harbor, holding the light, sighs deeply. She's had enough. She's yearning to be free somewhere else. She turns and drags those broken shackles into New Jersey. Cars whiz by her, honking. She strides through the Midwest, Missouri. Oklahoma City looks oh so pretty on what's left of Route 66. A trucker from Arkansas stops and she climbs in, clanking. She puts the crown on the seat beside her, props her enormous green feet on the dashboard. Holy shit, he says, where are you headed? I'll know when I get there, she says. Well, how about a little country music along the way? Which country? Hell, I'm talking Johnny Cash here. Where have you been? Well, I've been standing in one spot for well over 100 years. And so it's cry, cry, cry all the way to Tucumcari, and I walk the line way past Flagstaff. He tells her how he traded the farm for the truck and he went in hock for the insurance. She knows. She nods. It's expensive to be free. She tells him about the millions who once cried when they saw her light and how terribly lonely she's been lately. And so it's Folsom Prison blues all the way down toward Calexico and then west on to Tijuana. And when she gets close to the border, she sees something she doesn't understand. It's a yellow highway warning sign with a shadow family running hand in hand. What is that, she says. I think it's an illegal immigrant crossing, he says. Well, then you let me out right here. I didn't get your name, he says. You know, or you used to. She strides through the prickly pear without a scratch. She puts the crown back on her head and fires up the lamp. She waits. Before long, a family of 4 crawls toward the fence. She starts to speak to them. Give me, she says, and stops. It's just been too long. The little boy, the one who's been in school, prompts her. You're tired, he says. You are poor. Yes, she says, I am. The little girl climbs forward, crawls onto Liberty's toe. But what does she want? Health insurance, an e-ticket ride to Disneyland? But the little girl shines a flashlight upward onto Liberty's face. And Liberty weeps from all that time alone in the harbor. Libertad, the little girl says to remind her why she came. Libertad. I'm Alison Moore, and I wrote Liberty in 2001. I had just gone to New York for the 6-month anniversary of the fall of the Twin Towers. It was the last day, or the last night, that they were exhibiting the 2 lamps that shone up into the heavens. to stand for the Twin Towers. And I saw this from the back of the Staten Island ferry at night. And as we passed by the Statue of Liberty, someone on the ferry said, well, you know, she's closed now. And I couldn't believe what I had just heard, that they had closed the symbol of liberty and welcoming the stranger in America. And I thought, that's what I need to write about, except that I need for her to run away from home, so to speak. And I made her nomadic, sent her to Mexico, the place where she thought she could welcome people. And so today, the poem is still relevant because of the situation on the border. And people that hear it think that it was written specifically about that. But I think it's interesting for people to know actually how it started.
And that's the show. Episode 10 of Cool Tunes for Hot Planet. Starting next month, we'll be dropping episodes on the first of every month and putting special episodes in between with interviews and profiles of musicians and activists who are making a difference in the fight against climate change and for environmental justice. I'm Warren Senders. It's my first time hosting, and I'd like to thank everyone on the Cool Tunes crew for making me feel so welcome. Until next month, don't forget to sing, keep your hopes up, keep working for the right.